am joined by Daniel and Kevin today. I am very excited to get a, really close view on how Kevin implemented some stuff that we talked about in our last webinar. So I'll give Kevin a minute to introduce himself. I'll hand it over to Daniel and we'll kind of preface how this entire webinar came about. And then we'll jump right into the systems and visually show you what's going on. So, Kevin, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name's Kevin Pierro. I've been a certified financial planner here with Financial Independence for the last 7 to 8 years in Warwick, Rhode Island. And recently we've been working with FinMate and Daniel on a new project and process that I'm excited to share with you today.
That's awesome. And congrats on almost, did you say 8 years?
Coming up on 8, yep.
That's awesome. And Daniel?
Yeah, appreciate being on as always, Nora. My name is Daniel. I'm one of the co-founders for FinMate AI. My background, as some of you might know, is I have been a licensed financial advisor for about 7 years. I used to work for TD Ameritrade and then cut over to Schwab. Managed about 800 million client assets and did that till about a year after the takeover. Moved to found FinMate AI. We were the first note taker specifically for advisors back in 2023. And then with the changing market environment, we have gone into custom agentic AI solutions, which is where we are now. I'll just jump into kind of how we got to this place. If you all remember, maybe you don't, last year, towards, I want to say August, September-ish timeline, I did a joint webinar with PreciseFP to kind of announce our integration. Again, we were the first to pioneer that data passing through the note taker to planning softwares, and we use PreciseFP as a conduit. And I mentioned at that time, hey, we're working on a secret project. If anyone is interested in piloting that with us, feel free to reach out. And Financial Independence at the time was attending that webinar with PreciseFP at the time, reached out to us and said, yes, we're interested. And so they're one of our first few customers to kind of build up this agentic AI. The reason we were doing it is because with the speed of development that AI affords us now, and the reduction in cost of software development because of AI, we figured that it was a lot better to approach financial advisors in this manner of building products from the ground up. Because a lot of these software platforms, the limitations are either they don't do exactly what you want them to do, or requires a ton of customization and coding to be able to fit how your firm does work currently. And so we wanted to approach it from the other way now and build something to exactly how the advisor currently operates, right? And so that's why we launched this custom agentic AI program. We had a lot of back and forth with Financial Independence to kind of hone in on exactly what they wanted built. And so we are now showcasing the phase one of our project, so that first initial build. Kevin, anything to add from your perspective?
That's a good intro. Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, what drew us to you guys was the fact that we're a firm size of 7. We don't have the in-house tech or AI expertise, but at the same time, we want to implement AI into our practice. And that's what drew us to FinMate, and Daniel was seeing those that had the expertise and the background in our industry to potentially help us implement things that we're not able to do on our own. And so that's kind of how the relationship got started. And we reached out to Daniel and had a few conversations about what would make sense as a starting point as an initial project. And that's what I'm going to be sharing today.
I love that
Sounds
you took them up on that offer and Daniel, you delivered, and we're at a whole new place today. Do you want to share your screen and show what transpired, what the execution and result was?
Absolutely. Yeah, a little context on this project. We thought a good starting point would be with our prospect process, our prospective clients. Right now, the way we use PreciseFP, and I'll go ahead and share my screen and show you this, is we basically use an intake form with our new prospective clients. Our goal is to be able to gather some information ahead of our meeting with the advisor from the prospects, things like, where they live, where they work. I'm just going to thumb through some of the pages here of our intake form at PreciseFP. We want to know what are their goals, what's their financial backgrounds, why are they coming to us. These are things that you can gather a little bit up front over the phone with the prospect, but we found that the intake form helps bring it to the next level so that when we have the meeting with the advisor and the prospect, we're fully prepared to tailor the conversation to their needs and their situation. And I think this is better for both sides, a more productive use of all of our times. And a lot of times, the prospects that we meet with that become clients, there's only one meeting that we have and they're ready to move forward. And I think part of the reason is that we do this little bit of upfront data gathering. I know there's some hesitation sometimes to make this too intensive. You don't want to scare them off before things even start. But what's great about PreciseFP is we can pre-fill any information we already have about them that they've already told us up front when they reached out. And all we're really asking them to do here is fill in the missing fields. And that's what this intake form does here. As a lot of you probably know, PreciseFP integrates with Redtail and eMoney, which is our CRM and planning software. And what's great is when this intake form comes back to us, we can export the financials to eMoney. We can export the contact information details to Redtail, and it's very efficient. But the one thing that was missing for us was translating the results of the intake form into a meeting summary, a meeting like a client ready for the advisor in the meeting to use. We simply use a Word document, but we want to have something where the advisor could just have 2 or 3 pages in front of them that summarized everything we knew about the prospect from this intake form. And that's ultimately the project we decided to engage FinMate with. So when this intake form comes back to us right now, originally it was basically there's the version in PreciseFP, there's the PDF version, which I'll pull up here. And this is just an example information here, but what you'll probably notice is it's not really an ideal meeting material document. It's really just an export of the data that we've gathered. And originally we had a pretty manual process of having one of our team members take the information from this document and translate it onto the Word document with what would ultimately become that client's plan summary. By working with FinMate and Daniel, we're able to have the agentic AI do this for us. And this is really cool because now it's completely automated. When this form comes back completed, the AI agent, all on its own without us needing to prompt it, will see that this form was completed. It will generate the plan summary document for us, and all we need to do is go in and download it and stick it in their file, and it's ready to go for the meeting with the advisor. And I'm going to show you that here next.
I love that. I feel like it definitely eliminates some time on everyone's plate. And I don't know about you, but I feel very motivated when I have something very nice, precise, and like succinct and professional in front of me instead of like, oh, I need to flip to page 3 on the children part.
Yep, exactly. I'm kind of picky about the format and the way things look. I want to be able to just see it and know where things are. And this template that we created to give to FinMate was was just the way our preferences were. This could look like anything, right? This is just the design and layout that we chose and the information we chose to include. But I'll walk you through this. It's 2 to 2.5 pages, and it basically takes that information that they put on the intake form, as well as I didn't mention this before, but we also have an integration FinMate with Redtail. And so this first section here of how this person came to us actually got pulled by the agent from their Redtail record, and then everything else from PreciseFP. And so those two things together, the agent's pulling together a pretty full profile of them. So I like to see what their original reach out message to us was, how they came to us. Was it a referral? Did they find us on Google? What did they say? I want to know what their household looks like. They have kids? Where do they live? What are their jobs, titles? When did they start working there? Income's a good thing for the advisor to be aware of. All these fields here are fully customizable in PreciseFP, of course, as well as the information on here. I want to know, did they have insurance? And just plainly what kind of insurance policy it is, how much, how many. And again, I didn't type any of this information. This was all done by the agent for us, and it's fairly detailed, but I don't think it's overly detailed. It's everything I want to know about them. That really just in 15 minutes, I could go through this even less time and have a pretty good understanding of who this person I might be meeting with is. We've got details on their goals in here, all the goals they checked off in the intake form, as well as some details. It was also important to me to include comments that the person types into the intake form. I want to know everything they said so that I'm not asking them something in the meeting they've already told us. And we've gotten some great responses from these intake forms, great comments. That's one of the things I love about PreciseFP, just giving them the opportunity to open up a little bit more. We asked some open-ended questions here. I used some dummy answers here, um, real quick, but sometimes we've gotten very comprehensive answers. I'd love to show you, but obviously I can't for privacy reasons. But we've gotten some very comprehensive answers to these questions that just gave them the opportunity to open up to us. So sometimes you'll get short one-liners like this. Other times it's a paragraph, and to me that's awesome. And so with just these few pages, I know their background and situation, I know their goals, I know their financial profile, and I know anything else they've wanted to share with us. Couple this with a net worth statement from eMoney, and that's all we really need to be able to meet with them, and it's all done for us.
Excellent. Thank you. Nora, I think there's a question for PreciseFP.
Oh yeah, Gino's asking if the form is modified, do you have to redo the AI stuff?
That's for me, I guess. There is another one from Cynthia in the actual Q&A section. For Gina's question, if the form is modified, do you have to redo the AI stuff? The answer is partially yes. So how AI works is the more parameters and the more defined a question you give the AI, the closer to 100% reliability it gets to, right? And so the reason we're doing it custom is because we want the AI to be 100%, not like 80, 90%, right? And so what we're doing with PreciseFP and or financial dependence is if they want a form change, we'll do like a quick update contract probably down the road, just to modify it slightly. It'll be like if you need to update your website, just contact your website person and they'll update it for you. And then Nora from Cynthia, there's looks like a question about PreciseFP attaching forms to the website.
Oh yes, Cynthia asked, can you attach PreciseFP form to the advisor's website? And yes, I will paste in a webinar we did last week with Chad. He's from Prospera Investment Advisors, and his story's nice because he exclusively has the PreciseFP journey in his website. So you could take a PreciseFP form and embed it right into your website. So they never actually leave your domain. And that's something that you can do using it's called Web Publisher. So if you want more information on that or want to walk through, I'm happy to help with that to follow up today.
Great. I think Rob has another question for you on the chat.
I see Rob asked, does the intake form allow for voice input? So I thought of that too when Kevin was showing those questions, like what is your best life, I think it said. I thought instantly about dictation and how much more thorough your answer could be because, I could type one sentence, two sentence, but I could probably talk three or four paragraphs. So I would just say it depends on what a device your client is using. If they're using their cell phone and they come up to that question, once they click into the text box, the the phone's keyboard will pop up. And on most phones, you're going to find that icon that have that microphone icon. And then, yes, your clients can just dictate right there and probably just review for accuracy, make sure the dictation pulled everything correctly. But that definitely is an option as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, just to give a little more context to how the process worked in case people are curious about it. Um, how we operated is we had a number of meetings with FinMate as well as financial independence to suss out what kind of the priorities were, what some possible projects are. Generally speaking, with a new client, we like engage in a short-term project just to kind of suss each other out, see if we like working with each other, right? And so generally speaking, we do a 2 month project together. And so what you've seen here is basically a 2 month project. And then once that gets completed, is now when we start looking at the rest of the potential project ideas that we came up with together. If you are having some trouble with coming up with ideas, we at FinMate will be launching a mastermind kind of group course in the coming weeks. And so we'll get the list of attendees and we'll shoot out kind of more information about that mastermind class. I think it'll be helpful to a lot of advisors to wrap their heads around what's possible when working with us. Kevin, do we want to discuss a little bit about some of the potential things we'll be doing in the future?
Sure. Yeah, I think this lays the foundation for some future projects and work to build further. Just instead of working with prospects, we've got our whole client base that we manage financial plans for, and to be able to use the integrations with either PreciseFP or Redtail and further be able to build that out to service our existing clients would be huge because we meet with our clients generally twice a year. And so every 6 months, we're updating their plans ahead of the meeting. We're meeting with them. We've got follow-ups. There's questions that come up in between, and it creates a lot of manual upkeep and work to keep their plans up to date. And so if we can take this idea we've started here and build it out to automate some of that, it could drastically reduce our work time for the rest of our client base.
And Daniel, Kevin, because it sounds like the agentic AI is aggregating information from PreciseFP and Redtail and giving it to you in a nice digestible format. And it looks like, Kevin, you want to go to applying this to current clients to continue to service them. What's your vision for it from there? Like, is it gonna just bring things to the top to your attention? Is it going to offer suggestions, advice, things like that?
Yeah, well, this is where some of our discussions have been going because we were trying to really nail down what is the best approach here. I think you've touched on it to be able to summarize what's happened since our last meeting, pull that up right to the top would be helpful. To be able to summarize any interactions, like be able to sift through the email history, the agent sift through the email history, and summarize what's happened. Really, anything in our CRM um, is an option, right? To be able to bring current and not have to manually look through old email chains or copy and paste things from the CRM. So yeah, our discussions are getting there, but that's the vision right now.
Yeah, and the beauty of kind of building out an agentic system is everything will live through this singular portal, right? Which is the FinMate agent portal. And so you can see up at the top left corner there, there's a file area, there's a workflow area for doing workflows, or you can use it as a log for workflows. There's a system chat, and so what we're building for certain other advisor companies is they wanted a basically morning assistant where it'll give you kind of, hey, here's all the outstanding data requirements we need before we can get these accounts open so they don't get NIGO'd, right? And so as we build up the capabilities, they'll all sit within this singular portal that can sit between all of your other systems, as well as we're starting to hook this into the advisors database. What about the security? I stand by still. Oh, the Gemini thing here. So what we do is we are model agnostic. And so for all of our custom builds, the advisor will actually sign a API agreement with whichever service provider they want. And so we can load up whichever model you'd like to use. And so you can see here we have OpenAI, we have Claude, we have Gemini. It doesn't really matter to us what you pick because, again, this is a custom build for your firm specifically. And so part of the phase 2 build we're talking about as well is hooking this up with Financial Independence's OneDrive. And so instead of it having it available as a download, it'll just download straight to the OneDrive in a file structure that we just decide together.
Really
Information is
nice.
private, correct? Yes, because it's living in the advisor's cloud system, as well as the advisor will be signing an API agreement with whichever service provider they're comfortable with.
Which one do you like, or do you suggest using different ones for different reasons?
So internally, we do suggest using different things for different reasons, and we'll kind of work with you if we need to do multi-models. Generally speaking, the API agreement will cover everything within one company's proviso, right? So if you sign something with OpenAI, you'll have all of the OpenAI models, and you can pick and choose stronger models for more complicated tasks and then cheaper models for other tasks. I think for Kevin, um, I think we estimated it costs about like 10 to 12 cents per plan document that the AI generates. And so I think we've optimized that pretty well. And then, of course, it'll be dropped off into their cloud storage. And so that's a separate agreement that the advisory company will have with their existing service providers.
So you said it's creating a financial plan.
Right. So financial independence, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have the document that they had showed, which is a docx file. They create that and they update that for every single client. And so right now, the phase 1 is for the AI to build out that document for prospective clients. Christopher, yeah, right now what it's doing is it's creating that document based off of information the agent pulls from the different data sources. The other thing it's also doing is it gets triggered by the intake form coming in. So as soon when the client fills it out, the agent will know that a new intake form was filled out, and then create this document without the advisor needing to go in and asking for it.
And what if they updated information like maybe they move, things like that? Is that highlighted or brought to the surface?
Yeah, so updating the BLP or updating the plan is kind of what we're looking at for phase 2. And so once they're a client and you're doing annual reviews, of course, people will update. And so we're talking through what that would look like. Maybe it's intake from emails, maybe it's other form, but that's kind of what we're designing out right now. The other potential thing that we would be designing out is it's called RAG, Resource Augmented Generation, where we're looking to train the AI on FI's operational documentation and be able to answer questions about operational questions. From my understanding, FI had tried building something like that before. Didn't quite work as intended, and so that would be another possibility where we would go in and try to make it work for them.
Really great. And who's really loving this? Kevin, I know you find it so valuable in your meeting. What about your staff and support staff? How are they liking it?
Oh, it's great for them because they used to do the work the agent's doing, and it can not only be time consuming but just disruptive because one week we might not have much in terms of prospects. Another week we might have three prospects that come to us from whatever source, and now they got to drop what they're doing because obviously this is a higher priority or a high priority and do this manual work. So it's just like one less thing on your mind to do and obviously saves time.
Really great. And is any of this going to be client facing or it's just for internal purposes, it sounds like?
The goal is for it to be client facing in that phase two project where ultimately what we handed them is their plan was built in large part with this agent and the updates being done with this agent.
Love
Yeah.
it.
So we're not going to be sending these things directly to the client, of course, but it's there for the advisor to take to the client.
Hmm. Yeah, I always have to make fun of myself because I started working in fintech about 12 years ago, and a lot of the times when questions would come up, I'd be like, well, the machine can't do this. The machine can't go through and, see if you haven't met with somebody, or the machine can't go through and do this for you. And I just love and I'm so motivated by what I see now, where it's like the machine actually can do these things.
Yeah, and again, with the advent of AI helping our coding, actually, it's becoming a lot faster for us to build these things. And so, yeah, it was very difficult in the previous era to basically create something that'll create docx files, because if anyone's tried to programmatically generate docx files, they'll know that this is kind of a nightmare. I think there's only like one company out there that's trying to make it as a platform to be able to generate out docx files. So we've had to build it all internally, a system to create docx files, right? But because AI is helping with coding, we've been able to get that done pretty quickly. And Kevin just sent us, here's the exact file format that he wanted with all the hierarchy involved, right? So all those nested bullet points you can see can be um, shrunk down, and as well as having that bookmark on the left-hand side. So we can create all of that exactly to the advisor specification as well.
Really nice. And are you using this in sales meetings? If you host sales meetings monthly, weekly, how are you implementing it there?
Sorry, who is that to?
Oh, for you, Kevin, like if your team meets weekly, to kind of review prospects and things like that, do you use the agentic AI in that?
Well, for us, we've basically got our workflows, which start in Redtail that we meet every week in like a huddle format to go through. And one of the steps is for this document to get created. And so thus far, it's basically replacing one of these steps. But I think the capabilities are definitely way more. You've already brought up a lot of ideas and we've talked about that, but like Daniel said, it was let's start with this first project, which is a little smaller, and see how it goes, and then we take it from there. And so excited to kind of implement some of the ideas shared here and what's going to work best for our firm.
Yeah, who knows
Yeah,
what the next webinar will be, right? It'll be it'll be a whole new layer of execution for it.
absolutely. I think Gina had a question about sharing information between different AI softwares. In a sense, yes, there are kind of the new era tech is called MCP, uh, which allows AI agents to access things differently. I think a lot of the softwares don't really have robust MCPs built up currently, so we're using a mix of APIs and MCPs right now, and that'll evolve down the road as we go. There are some additional technology coming out where it's like headless, quote unquote, where you can have the agent be able to access the web browser. And so if you log into certain other systems that don't have robust APIs, the agent can just read your screen and be able to interface with it that way. But that's pretty expensive still, and it's kind of in its infancy stage. But that is what I'm assuming will be coming down the road as a new tech.
Really great. And Kevin, you're also using FinMate AI for just general note taking during meetings as well?
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up because we're big on implementing a note taker, but it's still on the backlog a little bit. We've had we just had a new hire actually at our firm, so we've had our hands a little bit full. But yeah, I mentioned that to Daniel yesterday. I was like, we need to get the note taker going too because that's a huge opportunity. I know they do a great job with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
could see the wheels turn in Daniel's head. He's like, we could take this to a whole new level once we get that information too.
yeah. And obviously we can push things in directly to PreciseFP from the note taker as well. I think Christopher Bonson had a question. Is there an ongoing cost for hosting the agentic process or just a one-time cost for custom dev? Mostly an upfront cost. There is a maintenance contract that we have with Financial Independence, just to do bug fixes as well as to do cloud computing. But it's a very low cost comparatively. Yeah, but we also need to generally have a bug fixing contract, I believe, because it's AI, things change a lot, and so we do want to make sure that what we built is going to be working for the far future as well.
Yeah, and I think I see Jude right here that made a comment. We all see the value in it. Specifically, the AI tool is bringing automation to the administrative aspects of planning, allowing the advisors to spend more time on the higher value planning functions and analysis, which is just so valuable, so helpful, and just adds a whole new layer to what you can do and doesn't feel so burnt out with you and the staff having to do it as well. Great. Well, thank you all so much for your questions. Daniel, if people want to learn more, where can they get some more information?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, www.finmate.ai, that's FINMATE.ai, you can reach out to us there. We're in the middle of making some upgrades to the website to kind of reflect our additional offerings with the custom agentic development as well as AI consultation. And we'll have some more information about that mastermind class as well.
Really nice. And if you're interested in PreciseFP, same thing, there's a free 14-day trial. You could go to precisefp.com and try it out there. And I did put in some resources in the chat of, embedding it into your website if that's something you're interested in. And, definitely, I feel like that onboarding is really helpful, but of course, that data maintenance is really helpful as well. And thank you so much for joining us today, Kevin. We really appreciate you. I'm such a visual person, so I feel like you could talk about agentic AI until you're blue in the face, but until I see physically that document that you shared, that was very helpful for me to instantly see like how nice it is to have that information right in front of you and kind of where it can go from here. I noticed it might have came from a template, but you definitely added your own custom questions in, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure you put in some front end work to build that. And with our AI feature in PreciseFP, you can just put a prompt in to your forms now that say, make a question that says, "What is your best life?" or whatever else you see that you would want to add. And the machine, same thing, will do it for you, so you don't have to do the clicking and typing. You just need to put a nice prompt in. Great. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you, Daniel. And thank you, everyone, for all of your questions. Feel free to reach out if anything comes along, and we're more than happy to help. But otherwise, thank you all so much for your time today and have a great rest of the day, everyone.